Welcome back to Inhuman Sociology. Last time, we kind of dipped our toes into this radical idea of exploring society, not just as humans interacting, but as a web of humans and non-humans all influencing each other. Ready to dive a little deeper?
Absolutely. Today we're tackling Bruno Latour, a philosopher who really shook things up with his actor network theory, or ANT for short. Buckle up because we're about to see the world in a whole new light.
Okay, so I've been reading up on Latour, and one thing that really jumps out is his critique of traditional sociology. He says it's been way too focused on the human element, creating this artificial separation between the social and the material.
Yeah, it's like trying to understand a play by only looking at the actors and ignoring the stage, the costumes, the lighting, all the things that make the performance come alive. Latour argues that we need to consider how objects, technologies, even scientific facts are woven into the fabric of our relationships and societies.
No, it's not just about people talking and interacting. It's about the stuff in our world participating in that conversation, too.
Exactly. Think about something like a traffic light. Seems pretty simple, right? But it completely shapes the way we move through a city, influencing traffic flow, pedestrian safety, even our moods as we wait for the light to change. Latour would say that traffic light, it isn't just a passive object, it's an active participant in shaping our urban lives.
That's a really interesting way to look at it. I'm starting to see how this idea of non-human agency could apply to so many things we just take for granted.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Latour identified 5 key areas where traditional sociology, with its focus on purely human interactions, falls short. He points out that groups, they aren't these static, predefined categories, but are constantly being formed, reformed, and influenced by a multitude of factors, both human and non-human.
So instead of thinking of society as a collection of fixed groups, we should see it as this dynamic, ever-changing network of relationships.
Precisely. And within that network, the question of agency, who or what has the power to act, is constantly being negotiated. Latour says it's not just humans calling the shots. Objects, technologies, even ideas are vying for influence.
So in a way, it's like we're always sharing the stage
Yeah.
with a whole cast of non-human actors.
That's a great way to put it. And this leads us to another key point Latour makes. Objects aren't just passive recipients of our actions, they actively shape how we interact with them and with each other. Think about the design of a classroom, the arrangement of desks, the presence of technology, even the color of the walls can influence how students learn and how teachers teach.
Yeah, it's making me rethink all the ways the physical environment shapes my own behavior.
And speaking of shaping, Latour tackles the concept of construction in a really interesting way. He's a champion of a constructivist view, the idea that things aren't simply out there waiting to be discovered, but are built through complex networks of human and non-human actors.
So it's not about reducing everything to social constructs, but about recognizing the messy, collaborative process of how things come to be.
Exactly. He's pushing back against the oversimplified view of social construction and highlighting the intricate interplay of human and non-human forces in shaping our reality. And finally, Latour points to the power of textual accounts, the way we describe and write about the world. He argues that these descriptions, they don't just reflect reality, they actively shape it.
So the stories we tell, the language we use, even the way we frame our research can become part of the network, influencing how we understand and interact with the world.
Precisely. Our words have power, and they are intertwined with the very networks of actors we're trying to understand. To illustrate this point, about the intertwined nature of the human and non-human, Latour uses a fascinating historical comparison. Thomas Hobbes versus Robert Boyle.
Two giants of their time, but representing very different worldviews.
Exactly. Hobbes, the political philosopher, focused on building social order through a social contract between individuals, a world of pure social relations. Boyle, the scientist, championed the laboratory as a space where artificial experiments could reveal truths about nature, a world where objects seemingly spoke for themselves.
So you have Hobbes focusing on the human realm of agreements and power, while Boyle is delving into the world of objects and natural laws.
And Latour argues that this separation, this artificial division between the human and the non-human, has defined the modern world. But it's not a reflection of reality, it's a construct. He's not saying one is right and one is wrong, but that this division limits our understanding of how things actually work. This leads us to another key concept: network as a verb, not a noun.
I'm intrigued. What does he mean by that?
For Latour, a network isn't a fixed structure, it's a process, a constant weaving together of connections. Think of it like a map. It helps us trace relationships, but it's not the territory itself.
So instead of looking for a predetermined network, We should be mapping out how these connections are constantly being made and remade
Yeah.
between humans and non-humans.
Yes. It's about understanding the dynamism, the fluidity of these interactions. It's not a static picture, but a constantly evolving story. And this brings us to his idea of moving from a modern to a non-modern perspective.
Okay, unpack that for me.
This modern obsession with separating and purifying, creating these distinct categories of human and non-human, has led us to an impasse, according to Latour. He proposes a non-modern approach, where we recognize and embrace the interconnectedness of it all.
It's about breaking down those walls we've erected and acknowledging the messy, interconnected reality we live in.
Precisely. And this leads us to another mind-bending idea. Relativism. I know that sounds like a tongue twister, but it's a core concept in Latour's thinking.
I'm all ears.
Yeah.
Lay it on me.
It means recognizing that different groups build their worlds and understand their truths in different ways. There isn't one absolute truth, but a network of truths constantly being negotiated and constructed.
So we need to be aware of the different perspectives at play and how they shape what we consider to be true.
Exactly. It's about moving beyond simplistic notions of right and wrong, true and false, and acknowledging the complex interplay of perspectives and power dynamics. And here's where it gets really meta and very relevant to our deep dive today. This episode itself is a perfect example of Latour's ideas in action.
Wait, really? How so?
We have two non-human actors playing key roles, the AI generating our script and the technology delivering this deep dive to you. They are shaping our conversation, influencing your understanding of the social world.
Whoa. So we're not just talking about these ideas, we're living them. This episode is a node in the network, a product of human and non-human actors coming together.
Exactly. And that's a perfect segue into exploring the concept of non-human agency in more depth. It's not just about abstract theories. It's about the very real ways in which the non-human is shaping our world, right here, right now. Let's go back to Latour's example of Thomas Hobbes and Robert Boyle for a sec. Remember Boyle? The scientist who championed the laboratory. Well, one of his most famous inventions, the air pump, perfectly illustrates how the non-human can shape our understanding of the world.
Oh, right, the air pump. It was a groundbreaking invention at the time, wasn't it?
Absolutely. But it wasn't just the technology itself that was important. It was the way Boyle used it. He created this whole elaborate setup, the laboratory. Carefully chosen witnesses, meticulous documentation of the experiment. It was all designed to make the air pump a reliable witness to the existence of a vacuum, something that was highly debated at the time.
So it was almost like a performance, a way of using the air pump to persuade and convince people.
Exactly. It was about creating a spectacle that would make the invisible, the vacuum, visible and undeniable. And through this carefully staged performance, Boyle was able to shift the balance of power away from traditional authorities like the church and towards the emerging authority of science.
So the air pump, this non-human actor, played a key role in shaping the way people understood the world and the rise of scientific knowledge.
Precisely. It became a mediator, a translator between the realm of nature and the realm of human understanding. And this idea of mediators is central to Latour's thinking. He argues that we never interact directly with the world, but always through these intermediaries. Objects, technologies, ideas, even other humans. They shape our understanding, our actions, and our relationships.
It's like we're always looking through a lens, and those lenses are shaped by these mediators, both human and non-human.
And it's important to remember that these mediators, they're not neutral. They have their own agendas, their own biases, their own ways of shaping the world. The air pump, for example, wasn't just a neutral tool for observing nature. It was also a tool for promoting a particular worldview, a particular way of understanding the universe.
A worldview that emphasized the power of observation, experimentation, and scientific knowledge.
Exactly. And this brings us back to the point we made earlier about the power of textual accounts. The way we describe these mediators, the stories we tell about them, also shapes how they are perceived and how they act in the world. Boyle's meticulous descriptions of his air pump experiments weren't just objective observations, they were also carefully crafted narratives, designed to persuade and convince his audience.
They were part of the performance, helping to establish the air pump's credibility as a witness to the truth about the natural world.
Precisely. And this is why Latour emphasizes the importance of looking beyond the surface, of digging deeper into the networks of actors that shape our world. It's about understanding the complex interplay of human and non-human forces, of material and symbolic power.
It's about recognizing that the world is not simply out there, waiting to be discovered,
Mhm.
but is constantly being made and remade through these intricate networks of actors.
And this process of making and remaking, it's never finished. It's an ongoing negotiation, a constant push and pull between different actors, different perspectives, different agendas. It's dynamic, unpredictable, and constantly evolving.
That's like a pretty exciting world to study, even if it's a bit messy and complex.
It is. And what makes it so fascinating is that it challenges us to think differently, to question our assumptions, and to be open to new ways of seeing and understanding.
So what does this all mean for us as individuals, navigating this complex world of human and non-human actors?
It means we need to be more aware of the mediators that shape our lives. We need to understand how they influence our perceptions, our actions, our relationships. We need to be critical consumers of information, questioning the stories we are told and the agendas they promote.
It's about becoming more aware of the influences that shape our worldviews and our choices.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we're not just passive recipients of these forces, but active participants in their construction. And as we become more aware of these dynamics, we can start to make more conscious choices
Yeah.
about how we interact with the world around us, the technologies we use, the information we consume, the relationships we cultivate. We can become more active participants
Yeah.
in shaping the networks that shape us.
And that brings us back to this episode of the Deep Dive itself. We were talking earlier about how the AI generating the script and the technology delivering it to you are also actors in this network, shaping the conversation and influencing your understanding of the topic. It's Latour's ideas in action.
And it's not just the AI and technology. We as hosts are also part of this network, mediating between Latour's ideas and you, the listener.
It's a bit mind-bending to think of it this way, but it's also kind of exciting to realize that even something as seemingly simple as a deep dive is part of this larger dynamic network of human and non-human actors.
Absolutely. And it raises some really interesting questions about the future. As AI and other non-human actors become more sophisticated and more integrated into our lives, how will they change the nature of knowledge production and dissemination? Will they become even more active participants in shaping the narratives we tell about the world?
It's almost like we're entering this new era of collaboration, one where the lines between human and non-human contributions become increasingly blurred.
And it challenges us to rethink some fundamental questions like what does authorship even mean in a world where AI can write a novel or compose a symphony? How do we define creativity when algorithms can generate art that rivals human creations?
And how will this shift in creative power impact our understanding of expertise and authority? Will we see a day when AI scientists publish groundbreaking research, or AI judges preside over courtrooms?
These are the kinds of questions Latour's work provokes us to consider. And it's not just limited to the realms of art and science. Think about the role of algorithms in shaping our online experiences, filtering the information we see, influencing our opinions and beliefs.
It's like these algorithms are becoming invisible curators of our digital lives,
Yeah.
shaping what we see and how we understand the world.
Exactly. And on a larger scale, think about the role of infrastructure in shaping our cities. The design of our roads, buildings, and public spaces influences how we move, how we interact, how we live our lives. These non-human elements, they are actively shaping our social world.
Yeah, it's making me see the city in a whole new light. It's not just a collection of buildings and streets. It's a dynamic network of human and non-human actors, all interacting and influencing each other.
And as these non-human actors become more complex and more integrated into our lives, Latour's call to recognize their agency becomes even more urgent. We need to develop new tools and frameworks to understand these complex interactions, to ensure that these technologies are designed and used in ways that are ethical, equitable, and sustainable.
So it's not about fearing the rise of the non-human, but about understanding its influence and learning to collaborate with it in ways that benefit society.
Absolutely. And it's about recognizing that we all have a role to play in shaping this future. We can't just sit back and let these technologies shape us. We need to actively engage with them, shape them, and ensure they're used for good.
So what can our listeners do to become more active participants in this evolving network?
First, I encourage everyone to embrace this expanded view of the social. Look beyond just human interactions and start to notice the ways in which objects, technologies, and ideas are shaping your world.
Pay attention to the design of your surroundings, the algorithms that shape your online experience, the tools you use every day.
Second, remember that knowledge is not static, but is constantly being constructed and negotiated through these networks. Be critical of the information you consume, question the narratives you were told, and seek out diverse perspectives. Don't just accept the information that's fed to you. Actively engage with it and challenge it.
And finally, don't be afraid to experiment. Explore new ways of interacting with technology. Engage with AI in creative ways. And contribute to the ongoing evolution of our social world.
We are all actors in this network, human and non-human alike. And by working together, by embracing the complexity and the possibilities of this interconnected world, we can create a future that benefits everyone.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating world of Bruno Latour and actor network theory. We hope it's given you a fresh perspective on the social and inspired you to look at the world around you with new eyes.
Until next time, keep exploring those networks. And remember, everything is connected.